Hey friends, this is your best friend in real estate, David Stoltzman. One of the issues that I have not covered yet, but I've always wanted to cover, just needed a simple way to break it down, is title policy and title insurance. That's a question that I get fairly frequently, especially from buyers. When you're going to buy a home, you use a contract and somebody's going to want to read through, if they're like anybody in my family, read through every single line in the contract, and then they come to the title policy in the survey. And there's just 1,000 questions about that. What is title insurance? Why do I need it? Why is it important? Well, I'm going to address all of those questions. So what is title insurance? Well, anytime a home is bought, sold, or financed, usually that all happens at the same time, but bought, sold, or financed, it's required, well, especially if it's financed, but it's strongly encouraged, usually required, to have title insurance. Title insurance insures you, the buyer, and you as the future seller and the future buyer, on having a clear and marketable title with no issues in ownership. It basically ensures your ownership in that property. So insurance is purchased, and then the title company starts a title search. And what they're pretty much doing is building the ownership story of that piece of property. Sometimes it's a home that was built 5 years ago and there's only been one owner, so it's very short. But other times it could be a ranch that goes all the way back to where Texas was its own country, which sometimes you find documents like that, and it's super cool for nerds like me. But sometimes, especially when you're in other parts of the country, you can follow that story, that chain, basically that lineage in that Ancestry.com of ownership, all the way back to U.S. patent, where the United States owned everything, and they said, well, after they took it from the Indians, where the United States said, here you go, you own this now, congratulations, and then it goes from there. So really neat. So title insurance bought, title companies building the story of the ownership in that, on that property, and they also are looking for any defects or any problems that may have arisen when they're going back through title. For example, you could have bought the home and gotten title insurance, everything was fine, totally clear, marketable title, whatever. Well, you go to sell that home, and the owner before you had a tax IRS lien levied against them and against the home. Well, it was never recorded. So that is then, so let's say it was recorded before, during, no, not before, during or after you own the home. Well, this new title search is going to bring that up, and then that has to be cured before you sell the home. It can cause a big mess. So title insurance is out there to help with issues such as that one. So again, documents the journey of the home's ownership. Title search is, or title insurance is ordered, and the search begins. They try to find if there is anything, any defects, and then build this nice, beautiful chain of title. Now, what is title insurance insuring against? Well, it is insuring against instances. There's only a few, less than 10, sometimes 10, I guess, depends who you are, if you want to get into the weeds. But number one is going to be filing errors, which I just mentioned. Let's say somebody didn't record something at the courthouse, and it never showed up in any other title searches since then. So if no one knows that that instance happened and it wasn't recorded, then they can't build it into the title policy. So a filing error. There's also forgeries, either forged signatures or forged documents that title insurance can protect you against in terms of ownership. There could be somebody out there who's trying to defraud somebody and own their home and take out loans on it, blah, 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 blah. White collar crime, also fascinating, but not good. Undisclosed errors. This can happen. This can happen if there is husband and wife that they own a house, and husband dies 20 years ago, wife is remarried, and now you have wife dies, husband now owns the house. Well, there was a husband previous and he had kids, and it can get into a big mess. And if you're going to sell that house, or if you bought that house and there's heirs that are coming saying, hey, I have rights to that house, title insurance insures you and protects you from having to unwind the clocks or rewind the clocks and go back and pay somebody some kind of interest that they owned from 30, 40 years ago. Also, unknown liens. I kind of mentioned it before. If there's an unknown IRS lien, usually those are filed pretty quickly, but if there's a lien such as a mechanic's lien, let's say that the previous owner that you're buying this house, the previous owner got the AC replaced 6 months before you bought it and never paid the HVAC guy. Well, he files a mechanic's lien on the house, but it's never recorded. Well, you can't sell that house until Mr. Mechanic is paid or Mr. HVAC guy is paid. So that's an instance of an unknown lien. Undisclosed encumbrances. Encumbrance, meaning you can't use. If there's something about the property that says you can't operate a carnival in the front yard or something weird like that, it encumbers you from, running your carnival in the front yard or on the property, whatever it is. That is, that's an instance where if that's unknown, or if you buy the property and that's not disclosed or whatever, then that's also a gray area too, because there's stuff that title insurance doesn't cover. But undisclosed encumbrances that prohibit you from using the land a certain way. Also, a big one, an unknown or unprobated will. Kind of goes back to my example where, let's say husband and wife die. Husband dies first, 20 years later wife dies. There was never a will probated, and now the kids are going to go sell the house. Well, it'll show up, okay, mom didn't have a will, dad did, or some weird instance like that. We can get into the weeds, but we won't. So that's just an idea. If the seller of the home is going to sell the home, or if somebody along the line didn't probate a will and all of a sudden somebody shows up and go, hey, I have ownership in that home, what are you doing with it? Title policy, title insurance protects you from that. And finally, false impersonation. If somebody, it kind of goes back to forgery. If somebody's forging documents, or they're pretending to be somebody else, they have the exact same name, exact same initial, or if they're a twin or something weird like that, and they go to sell the house, and they sell the house, sell it to you, well, they're a twin, the twin didn't know that the house was sold, and now you own it, well, you are protected through the title insurance. So that's all I'm going to cover on this topic. We can get into a semester-long dissertation level coverage of this issue, but that's title insurance. That's the title policy, as quickly and as concisely, even for me, that I can explain title insurance. I'll do another video on what title insurance doesn't protect, but this is what it does protect and what it is. Hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about title policy or real estate in general, or if you want a home sold quickly and for the highest price, call me, your best friend in real estate, David Stoltzman, or if you just need help on something, reach out, call, text, email me. Happy to help you. Look forward to the next video. Thanks.